All right.
I couldn't find it.
Am I still down here? How you doing, Dave?
I'm fine, you okay?
How's everybody today?
Good, you doing all right?
Fantastic.
How are you? I have some. Big and small.
I keep bringing mine, so I'm gonna bring them now.
I'm doing well. Swift here. I called him, I told him.
Looks
like it's on.
It's continued, she's going.
So he's, I think there's that.
There's this and
Here to
there.
them. Oh, okay. That one on Grove Street.
And probably maybe positive.
Good.
We'll see.
Good.
But I'm not pushing anything right now.
Yeah. She was trying to set up. But she got off, she maybe somebody from California maybe.
How are you, Ian?
Well, I'm hanging in there, that's pretty good.
That is, that's better than not.
I got a really.
Yep, that's you.
I wanted to make sure I could remember my name. I said,
I just worried about that because.
he was further out.
About 2 months ago, they did as well. Going back in.
Don't breathe over on the
But
south side.
they told me I shouldn't go, couldn't go to physical therapy. And that, man, my legs get weaker, so I'm not walking like I was. Have a seat.
I don't have that same excuse, but now those are getting weak, just because you didn't know.
That's part of it.
Yeah, I am wrong.
Well, I've got souls about 3 years. So long as I can tell the difference between the gas and all that break.
Good, you ready? Thanksgiving?
Always a problem.
We saying you're proof right here.
Cranberry or turkey, I don't want that.
I said, I said.
Syracuse game last night?
I did not want Syracuse. I've been too many.
I usually start watching these later on, see how they do before I start.
Kind of easy to, that's what my first foray, and once we get an SEC play.
Right.
Yes.
Don't connect, got me into it last year, so. I've kept up with basketball probably past 2 years.
He might be 47 years, 47 years. It'll take a lot.
He's doing something.
A little bit. You say 14.
She's fine.
We always let me know, we'll answer questions as they come in. Thank you.
I'm gonna call the Loudon Planning Commission to order, and as a reminder, it is being recorded. And since my note disappeared, is that all I'm supposed to say?
You did.
Okay. First, where am I? Okay, pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Debbie Hines.
Here.
Kevin Bookout.
Here.
Dennis Brennan.
Here.
Cam Perry.
Here.
Tim Dixon.
Here.
Tim Henley.
Here.
Kelly Brewster. Here. David Mears.
Here.
Clayton Pangle.
Here.
And Scott Wilson.
For the approval of minutes for November 6, 2024, do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's approved. Mayor has something to say about one of the items today.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I just don't want to pass this opportunity up to thank the staff. What's before you today with Lakeshore Loudon, it has been a lot of work, as you may
Looks like.
imagine.
Yeah.
But me being here for the last 14 months in the interim role, I've seen firsthand the work that Michael and Travis and Professor Spencer and Kim, Jack, Mr. Cannon, Mr. Dover, if these walls could talk, they would tell you there's been some intense meetings, some intense discussions. And we've had several discussions about, we've got one shot to do this right, and we can't screw it up. And that's a lot of pressure for a lot of folks, but I feel confident with what we have here is it meets the parking requirements. It meets a lot of the requirements that our staff and the SPD requires. So just with the level of confidence, I can assure you that there has been a lot of work, and I just want to publicly thank our staff for the work they've done here, because this has been, as you know, a couple of years, getting it to where we are now, but I think it's something we can all be proud of, and I want to thank, Mr. Dover and Mr. Cannon for there's been a lot of frustrations on their end, on our end. I'm sure there's been some times we've just had to walk away from each other and just cool off a little bit, but a lot of times when you go through something like that, you're really proud of what you've got, because you had to work through a lot of adversity to get a good product. So I just want to take a minute to say that and just publicly thank our staff, because I'm just telling you, they've done an incredible job of getting it to this format we got right here. So thank you, Madam Chair.
First item under new business is application 141, site plan review for Kimberly Clark Warehouse, 5899 Sugarland Road, property owner Kimberly Clark, applicant Mark Hayne, tax map 25, parcel 181.00, M2 heavy industrial. Okay.
Hi, I'm Mark Hayne. I work for Kimberly Clark. I'm a project engineer there. And we're looking to put a warehouse up. Basically, the warehouse would store some of our raw materials for making paper. So a lot of the raw materials that we get are recycled paper. So we would be putting recycled paper in this warehouse. This warehouse would help us. There's a lot of different grades of recycled paper. So we like to play around with the mix a little bit and still meet all of our quality specs. So this warehouse will give us basically a better chance to kind of optimize our quality of our paper by kind of picking and choosing all the different grades of paper. So it's a 115,000 square foot warehouse. If you're familiar with our site, it's not very flat. So that's why we have this kind of goofy shape. So we couldn't do just a straight rectangular building. We had to do kind of a shaped building. And this is currently in an area that we currently use for like a trailer storage. It's mostly flat, but when we put this warehouse on there, we would have to do some site work. So all the drainage and everything would have to be redone. All the calculations for the stormwater protection plan and everything else have been also redone. We have submitted our NOI already to the state of Tennessee. We have not received it back yet, but that is in process. So it's a building that we're looking to put up. It's what they call a pre-tension fabric building. The structure itself is just like any other steel fabricated building, but instead of putting steel on it, they put it's a polyurethane PVC fabric, and they tension it, and it looks just like a normal building and everything else. It's just it's a little bit lighter, so you can get away with a little less steel, so it's a little bit more cost effective. And ultimately, we're storing recycled paper in it, so it doesn't need to be, we're not gonna heat it, we're not gonna do anything like that. We're ultimately trying to keep stuff out of the weather. So that type of building meets our needs. So
have a question.
Sure.
Is this the Sugar Rim Road entrance, or is this up on the hill where the big tanks are?
Up on the hill, or halfway up the hill where the big tanks are.
Well, you couldn't even see it from 11, because you can see those containers from 11 a little bit.
I think you
So
can
it's
see the
past
ones
that.
on the very top, right
Yeah,
there.
so it's behind that.
Correct, it's, down the hill, it's kind of a middle lot right there.
Staff,
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
You'll pay county taxes on that building, won't you?
I'm assuming we do.
And it doesn't look
I
like
don't pay
you're
the tax.
requiring, you're not requiring any additional roads or anything improved from the county.
No.
So it's a plus, 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 and I like the word recycled paper. That's always, eat that, I'll blow my nose.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next item up is application 110, review of preliminary small plan development district, SPDD plan, Lakeshore Loudon, stage 1, property owner Loudon Waterfront LLC, applicant Rodney Calvin, DK Levy Architecture and Design, tax map 330, group A, parcels 5 through 7 and 12 through 14, tax map 0330, group B, parcel 1 through 6, small plan development district. Okay, Harold?
Thank you, ma'am. Harold Cannon, on behalf of Mr. Dover, Mr. Ramsey. This day's been a long time coming, but I think we all, and I say staff, the consultants, the developer, we're proud to bring this to you. There's been a lot of talk that's gone into it. The mayor's right. There's been some good meetings, there's been hard meetings. I can tell you at no time was there a meeting where there was a selfish agenda. The only agenda in all this is to make sure that this development, and I believe, Mr. Spencer, your word was, is complements, I believe.
Complimentary.
Yeah, is complementary to the downtown area and for the mixed uses that's intended. That's been the focus. And I would respectfully offer, we've arrived. So I'm tempted to say, any questions you want to vote, but I think you need a little more information than that. Couple of highlights that I think is important for you all to hear, and I hope I don't bore you with these words. First is that there's been a lot of attention to the historic nature of this site. And you will see that the reservoir and how much that means to this community. A lot of detailed discussion on how do we protect that thing. It's one thing to put it, say, in the traffic circle that you see. That's good. But it went beyond that. You've got to have barriers that keep trucks from jumping curbs, that make sure that the legs of that thing are taken care of. There needed to be inspections of making sure structurally that are we about to bite into something that we may not really want to? The good news is no. You know, it's a part of this plan. That's the first part, the historic nature. The second part is being sensitive, being complimentary, if you will, of downtown and what downtown has been, with the understanding that you're not going to recreate old buildings today. But you can sure do it in a way that's complementary, and we believe we've achieved that. The third part is connectivity, and that word, I don't know, sometimes I kind of wonder about that word, but this is one place I believe is correct, is that we've paid a lot of attention to the traffic flow. There's been a lot of attention given to the parking needs for the residents there, and really looked at it from a practical standpoint. And I do applaud staff for really bringing us together to look at those needs from a practical standpoint versus just following the regs. That's the right thing to do. If you look, there's a lot of heavy black lines on that thing. That's sidewalk. And that's allowing people to walk to the different destinations. That's providing parking for the retail areas that you see on Hackberry. That's what you want. In addition to the greenway that's closest to the river, and we are committed to the waterfront amenities for paddlecraft. That once we have approval here, that allows us to go to TVA and say, we have the approval. Let's get down to the brass tacks on this. So this isn't just a subdivision, a simple subdivision that comes to you all. This has had a lot of facets. Public roads versus private roads versus what do we do in these different places. And I too applaud staff, and I'm not sucking up to them. I applaud staff for their willingness to work with us and guide us in a way that they've done a good job of taking care of your needs. The next slide, I believe, is going to show you the existing conditions. The one before, by the way, can I back up one? I'm sorry. The green is what we're talking about today. That is called phase or stage 1. The blue, if you will, is stage 2. The reason we're showing that, and you're gonna have a little bit more detail on that in just a minute, it was only right that you see what this thing will look like when we achieve the definition of done, okay? So that you can see how the two do interact, you can see how the two do complement each other. It's planned, and it's going to just throw together. I'm sorry, but thank you for.
Now, direct it with.
Let's go to the next sheet there. After that one, that is the mix for stage 1. You can see the number of units, 96 units, including townhome units that were discussed at the historic planning commission meeting. We have commercial, we have retail, we have the cafe restaurant as was committed to, and you see the total commercial space there. Unique thing is, over the retail space, there is residential, which will give it a unique flair. This is a stage 1 layout, and you'll look, and particularly in the townhome areas, it looks like big boxes. No, it's, what you're seeing is where the property lines will be for that specific lot, so that that's been allowed for. Lines that you won't see in the field, but there's gonna be a lot of green in those areas. The traffic circle, we created that, the roundabout, if you will, to protect the tower and to also make it a focal point on the ground as well as it is coming over the bridge. Yeah, thank you. Typical sections. This keeps me accountable to my word on connectivity. You can see the sidewalks through there, particularly on Hackberry, as you're going in towards the bridge on the left-hand side. It is wide for that retail space, but we also have it on the other side as well. On the side streets, Gay, Green, and Union, you'll see sidewalk on one side, and that was intentional. Greenway cross-section, we're committed to it. It will be deeded over to the city when that construction is complete.
What's the surface of that, the greenway?
Right now, the greenway is intended to be similar to what they have on Cherokee Boulevard, which is a pug mix, compacted pug mix, as opposed to asphalt.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It's,
Cause
it's a comfortable walking space.
right, that's what
I
I'm.
think that's changed, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Has
believe
it
it.
changed?
We're showing here, 2 inches of surface.
I screwed up. I did not know that change had
No
been made.
problem.
It went from 8 to 10 and then asphalt.
Okay. That's where we are. Forgive me. I
No,
missed that memo.
I like your thought better than the asphalt, but.
Well,
Yeah, excuse me, let me interrupt there. That's a problem for us on that. I don't think it's pavable as it's currently designed. We're gonna have to get out there and walk that. Excuse me, Rick. Hey, we're gonna have to get out there and lay that thing out, and it'll be, the public right of way will be in an easement as opposed to a deed, but we'll have to survey this and lay it out properly on site once we get it graded. really hard right now, given how much grading's gotta go on that site, and topography to actually lay it out exactly. So I've got an issue with that, and it did not approve the asphalt, but what I do want is the compacted fudge. I think that's a very comfortable walk. So we can work that detail out.
Sure, that's very minor, but
It is, but constructability could be an issue there, and part of it's gonna have to extend into TVA's, flood easement. So, you know, they're not very happy about impervious surface.
right,
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of greenways surfaces that are asphalt that 10 years later, it's all broken up.
Here's the one thing we've committed to, and I am the culprit on this one. Frankly, I think it's the right way to do it. There's a lot of grading that's gotta take place on this site. Everybody knows that for this development to happen. And I am an engineer, and I can lay out a greenway, and I can put radiuses and all that good stuff in it, and I'm telling you, it's the wrong way to do it. We have done it in the plan view so that we have a starting point. But usually the best way these things are laid out is, yep, you put those stakes there, and then you go out together with staff, and we say, that stake needs to come over. And a lot of times the alignment will tell you exactly where it needs to be. So we are committed to the greenway, and it may have a little different woogies to it than what you see in these plans, but that will be with staff's blessing, the mayor's blessing, and that's at least the approach we think will be best for the overall community.
Staff good with that?
Well, I think that what we show in the plan is that we have an existing topography there and we have proposed grading on it. The proposed grading vets that it's achievable. We're open to a field adjustment, but we're looking for a set of construction drawings that has a proposed alignment and the connectivity that we feel that the mayor and other, you all as leadership would want. So, and what we had arrived at recently was what's shown in plan with the cross section that's shown there. So that's what's been proposed to us. So deviating from that is a little bit of new information here. So I would defer to what the mayor may want to add to that.
Well, I mean, it's something we can discuss at the time, but,
Yeah, we don't need to let that,
no, it
look
shouldn't
any
go
of
like
this.
this, and I agree with Rick, I mean, it needs to be something that we could, and Harold, that we, have staff involved in when we get to that point. Main thing is they're committed to.
So, I basically hear what you're saying is, we're gonna make it the best that we can make it,
Mhm.
and that might be waiting until we get the grade work in,
Right, to
and
see.
then develop what is the best
Yeah.
that it's gonna be.
No question, there will be, and I hope I haven't misled you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, there will be distances and calls and angles on the greenway where we all agree it should go. It has to be, because that's gonna define the easement.
Yeah.
And you want something, an easement that has meets and bounds, if you will, to it. So that will happen.
Okay.
Utilities have been a challenge, they've been an opportunity, and it's working out. Some of what you see on the apartment finished floors, particularly along the river, that's been driven by, and that's generated the fill, which has been driven by how low can we go and still tie to sanitary sewer? And that's been achieved. Everything is gravity fed on this piece of property, and it's been working closely with the utility and the city staff, frankly, to make sure that no one stubs their toe on this, because there's been a lot of new construction out there as well. Preliminary plating, those are the easements that would be dedicated. I'll direct your attention to the reservoir itself, where there's gonna be an easement that is dedicated to the city. That's yours. But we're gonna call that out by meets and bounds. The other shaded areas that you see, those are gonna be easements that are dedicated with the utilities. Except that one at the very, very top, right under the word plat, that's the area that you will have the waterfront amenities. Again, we've gotta get TVA approval. They basically won't talk to us until they're assured that the local, government is going, okay, this plan is acceptable to us. Architecturally, some of you just sat through the, historic meeting, and you'll see similar architecture there. You're also getting to see a snapshot of what the cafe is. Again, it's, complementary, in my opinion, to what, you have downtown and in the heart of Loudon. But I think it's also gonna serve as a catalyst for future development that takes place.
So Rick, does it still have the kind of industrial look to it? A little bit?
Well, yes, I'm still playing around with the actual architecture of what the cafe is gonna look like in terms of the materials and whatnot. Right now, we're showing everything as glass and hardy with asphalt, shingles. But I'd like to see the cafe have a little bit more steel on it and maybe a little bit more glass. If we need to, we'll come back to you for any changes on that, but we wanted to show you.
So are the units gonna be a little bit more industrial too?
The apartments?
Yeah.
No, not really. I think that this is board and batten, hardy cementous siding and some lap siding and different, textures and feels, but with a sloped roof. That would be shingled, and then balconies for all the units.
Okay.
Maybe speak to the location of those. There's 5 of that apartment prototype. And they kind of go from left to right. So here's one rectangle, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the cafe in that drawing sits here, near the water tower.
Now, in Hackberry, you've got glass storefront type space. Maybe go to that slide. Like what you had.
The commercial space,
Yeah, so
Commercial space.
those are right here that he's talking about.
The commercial space.
Don't we have an elevation for that?
We do.
There
There you go.
There it is, right there at the top. So those would have wide sidewalks in front, 10 feet, wide sidewalks, and then all the way down Hackberry, you'll have parallel parking on either side, sidewalks on either side, and landscaping on either side with street parking. So it'd be a very, very nice space.
Yeah, it looks good.
That probably, to answer your question, this was
Yes, you
more,
did.
industrial or commercial as opposed to the actual apartment buildings, which are
Yeah.
kind of modern farmhouse kind of is the design aesthetic, but, they look more residential on the river. And then this would look a little bit more commercial and more industrial, commercial type looks up on the street front.
Okay.
And then the bottom elevation would be what the townhomes will look like. They will be on individual lots, for the 3 blocks bounded by Hackberry to Poplar, from Union over to Commonwealth. Yeah, starting with that one.
And I wanna thank Rick. I mean, we started out, one of the moving pieces was we only had 1,500 square feet of commercial space, retail space in the whole development. And so that was one of the back and forths, and he went in and put another 6,000 square feet. So we have a total now of 7,500 square feet of mixed use or retail space, which is, I think, key to that, so.
Where's the retail space facing?
Facing Hackberry.
Just the next stage 2, yeah.
This is a summary of stage 2. There's gonna be more detailed design done on this, but again, as I mentioned in the beginning, we owe it to you, that you see where this is heading, so that frankly, you hold us accountable that everything's gonna fit together. That is the unit mix, including, some retail commercial information. The next slide will, show you an overview, if you will, that shows stage 1, but then stage 2 is the upper right-hand corner. That's how that would look. That was challenging, because you've got the flowage easement, you've got a number of utility easements there. the word shoehorn is probably appropriate, but we got it to work,
Yeah.
so.
So that's good use of that property.
Next slide is landscaping, just to give you a flavor for what is intended to be planted during stage one. It's good to see that size and caliber trees, especially indicated and rightly so. We'll save what we can along the waterfront. At the same time, you know, there's some things that may need cutting back with. We'll coordinate that with the TVA. The last slide is the site lighting. There's been a standard proposed. We don't have all the detail sheets on this PowerPoint, but we've got it in the plans, I promise you. But that just gives you a flavor of the number of light standards that are gonna be put in. So that, this isn't going to be a dark area. It's gonna be an area that at night, if you're in a townhome, you're gonna feel like you got neon lights staring in your face all night. It's intended to create visibility and encourage safety. That's the bottom line.
Without excessive luminance.
Exactly.
Excuse me, one second, one more quick footnote on lighting, is we'll be using the same historical light standards that you have here up there. So with the pole and lanterns, no cover this or anything like that, it will all be matching the historical.
Yeah, very nice.
I've probably talked too much, so my apology to you, but are there any questions that we can attempt to answer?
I've had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Dover for about, 25, 28 years, Rick, something like that. And I think every project that he has ended in the city of Loudon has always been first-time quality. I've also had the pleasure of working with Rick on 2 projects in Knox County, and they were very good when they were finished. And I think it will be an excellent opportunity for the city, revenue, and it's going to be very exciting to see something finally happen in downtown Loudon. We've waited long enough, and I think it's time to move on.
So just a general question.
Yes,
When we look, today, let's say, Phil, we'll go ahead and get the approval here. What are we looking at timing? Is this in the next couple months, next 5,
Very fair question. We're anticipating right now what we're projecting is with your approval today, and subject to any comments or changes that you all ask to be made, that our goal is to have appropriate information to staff to issue a permit within the next 30 to 60 days. On the
That
heels,
permit is for land disturbance.
yes,
Construction permitting will come later. There's some state approvals they'll have to get. We'll have to review plans. We don't have construction plans. This will be just for, land disturbance and site plan work. Just wanted to make it, clear so everybody's not mad because I ain't issued a building. We gotta have some plans.
Come on, man.
if you don't want to be mad, go ahead.
We want you to do that 2 years ago. There you go, Tim.
No, very fair clarification. This is to get the dirt moving.
Right.
And we have the source, the fill material, we have contractors ready to go. They need to hear that this thing's approved by you all. In fairness to Michael, there are some tweaks that have to be done to the construction documents. I would say they're in the 90 to 95% stage. And so our hope is that we'll do our part right. Permits can be issued. And then we've talked about what the next step of the groundbreaking or whatnot, but in the next 30 to 60 days,
Good.
something should be happening, subject to, and I think you all are sensitive to this as well. I'm not sure what the good Lord has planned for weather right now. And sometimes he pitches us a curveball, but our goal is in the next 30 to 60 days. Within that time period, we will be going to TVA to have that moving forward concurrently as far as what they will allow for waterfront features to be constructed.
So what would be your vision, and I understand, I'm just looking very ballpark numbers, but initial construction is coming spring?
Yeah.
We think we've got 5 or 6 months worth of civil underground. I mean, all the utilities have to be affected, everything from stormwater all the way up to behind the post office, all the way to the post office. We're gonna take away all the light, wooden poles out, and all the utilities will go underground. We've gotta add, this is a good slide to have up, even though it's lighting, you can see all those dark shaded areas. Sewer lines have to go underground, water has to go underground, all the fiber optic, telecommunications, and electrical has to go underground, transformers set, plus 40,000 cubic yards of grading brought in at the site level. So, yeah, it's a huge undertaking, so we probably got 6 months worth of site work to do before we can go further. So, it has been an exhaustive amount of work to get done, and I really want to thank the mayor and staff for hanging in there with us. A lot of times people say, well, how come nothing's going on? Well, there's a lot going on, a lot going on. So I feel like it has been a collaborative effort, and then we'll always have a few little nits and gnats to work out, and we'll work together and get them done.
Sure.
And, it was just, when we first started this, it was, hey, we've got this infill site, it's already, everything's ready to go, it's in downtown Loudon, utilities are there, roads are there, just go ahead and get going. Well, I don't think that was exactly accurate, but we worked through it, and I think we're good to go. Something that is on my mind, so I just want to say it, because while we're here together, we are planning to have a mix of renters and owners on this property. You're looking at almost 200 families that would be coming to live downtown Loudon, new family. And so initially, one of the things that was talked about was that the whole thing would just be one big giant rental community. I don't think that's in the community's best interest, and in light of some of the infrastructure and civic improvements that have to go on, we really need to sell some of the homes in order to finance some of the extra work. So, at some point, we'll ask you to approve, you can kind of see where the lot lines are on those 3 blocks between Hackberry and Poplar. And then we've got some townhomes on the north side of Hackberry, there's 10 over there as well. But these really need to be individual lots, and maybe need to be homeowners, new families that are stakeholders in the community, taxpayers, voters, and involved in the fabric of the community. We would still have over 120 rentals, but we'll have about 60 that need to be homes that are sold to new families. And the idea would be that they would be high value, attainably priced, good quality housing for working folks. So not a lot of real fancy high-end stuff, but not low-end government type stuff either. So we're trying to hit a sweet spot there. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of get that out, and be happy to discuss it anyway with anybody.
One sidebar I would offer, and that is, there are some people who probably believe all this is an infill project, why it's not happening.
Well, I was wondering for a while.
But look at I guess I just, what has struck me in my time that I've been involved is, look at the planning that's gone into it, looking at it from the public's eyes, as well as the folks who are gonna live there day in and day out. That's not an infill project. That's a truly planned development that we think is gonna be best for the city and for the folks who are gonna live here.
Rick and Harold's heard me say this more than once. We need a place where the people live, work, and play. Not a subdivision on the water. It's not what we want.
Amen.
It's not what we want. So we want a unique experience where people can live there, shop there, walk there, hang around outside, walk. I mean, it's a unique experience. And that's what I think we've got here, And, you'll notice too that there's recommendations by the staff. So all those, you should have those. These are conditions staff has put together, their recommendations, and these things have been agreed upon too. So if you approve it with these conditions, basically.
Do you wanna go over the conditions?
Sure, I'd be happy to read those out on the record here. So, due to the unique nature of the small plan development district requirements, and just the project in general, if you choose to approve it, we recommend making a motion to approve with these following conditions. As Harold pointed out, this is for stage one that you're looking at on the screen there. And that's in your packet, it's sheet C501 in the architectural sheets. And that includes the right-of-way improvements on Hackberry, Union, Green, Gay, Commerce, and Poplar that are shown there and in the rest of the plans. Preservation and maintenance of the on-site water tower, which there's a structural engineering report that's also in your packet. So we would ask that they would adhere to that. The other elements that this includes are 5 12-unit apartment buildings, buildings 1 through 5, as shown there. Buildings 6 through 8, which are 3 mixed-use buildings. Here on Hackberry, this has 8 unit. These two are 8-unit prototypes. And that's a 4-unit with the commercial space in the front bottom floor, and then residential on the back first floor, and on both sides, front and back of the top, second floor. 16 townhomes, a 1,500 square foot cafe, greenway and pedestrian improvements, and the landscaping that we looked at. Grading and construction of infrastructure is limited to these things and excludes work in stage 2 on parcels 29 and 28 that are on the south side of the bridge. As they bring those plans, we'll add that into what we would ask you to approve. The city would also ask for a bond for right-of-way infrastructure and other city infrastructure improvements. Access and facilities easements.
How much is the performance bond?
It would be, so that would be, maybe Jack could speak to some of this, but I think that a budget for other arrangements would be required.
Yes, so we have to amend the IDB development agreement. As part of that, we'll be requesting a new budget, and me and Rick have already talked about that. And it'll identify those public assets and the costs associated with them, and that's what will determine those bonds.
Thank you, Jack.
Access and facilities easement and an allowance for city riverfront amenities that were identified. We thought that there's some additional coordination with TVA that would need to occur. Satisfactory completion of Greenway connection plan from stage 1 beneath the US Highway 11 bridge. So we're showing a connection here. We need to finish that thought as it goes under the bridge and connects on the other side. The work will be limited to here, but it just needs to have some connective tissue there. Satisfactory completion of traffic impact analysis and any required off-site improvements, and that any sale or rental of lots or spaces would, as is also listed in the ordinance, would be prohibited until the final final SPDD plan is brought to you for approval.
Okay, do we have a motion or?
I make a motion to approve with all these recommendations.
And I'll second that, but I would like to make a comment, if I may. This is so positive for the community, Mayor, we've talked about this. At my company there, or not my company.
Yeah.
At this case, we continually lose employees that are making $80,000 a year, 85, 90,000 a year, because they can't get housing
No place to live.
close enough to where they work. And we're struggling to bring in professional people because they don't, the same situation. So this, just very positive.
Okay, we have a motion for approval and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any additional public comment?
Build it.
I wanted, one thing about that walkway, just as a statement, we'll have to take into consideration ADA access, so don't, because we have a disagreement, we've had several, the mayor mentioned. And so we'll have to deal with ADA access, we'll also have to provide, emergency access, because we'll have a structure possibly, and we'll have a facility on the river. So, all those things have been taken into consideration when we talked about this along the way, and we'll have to continue to work it out. But it would be wrong of me not to say to you now, there's a possibility it may have to be, more of a permanent type instead of a PUG.
Yeah.
I mean, we just need to work through the issues,
Yeah.
we'll get to it. We have a proper right of way, and I just wanted to bring it up, so I wasn't on the backside of this,
Sure.
trying to explain.
But there's a lot of creative options there.
Yeah, yes, sir, and we'll work with them as
Yeah.
much as we can.
And we know you will. We
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Mr. Spencer, you were up next. Rick?
No, I just want to say, I understand exactly what Travis is saying. We're committed by agreement to provide an easement and a walkway, and we're, from a constructability standpoint, have no problem building whatever TDA will approve for us for a pallet work.
Rick, what is the total investment in this project?
A lot.
It's going up by the minute. First phase, is around 16 million, David, and the second phase is probably closer to, not quite that much, but probably 12, 14. So
Altogether, it's around 40 to start with.
30-ish, something like that probably. But that's like today's dollars, which are always going up. What I was gonna say is, regarding the walkway and the improvements back there, what we feel we committed to do was to provide and construct it. Always had intended it to be some type of PUD mix, kind of, comfortable walking surface. We don't have any ADA accessibility, retaining walls, paving. That's not something I can do. I can't, just don't have it. So I just want to be clear, if that's a condition of approval, then I've got a problem with that.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say a word about the fact that you were given the staff recommendation in the form of a worded motion with all kinds of conditions and so forth. That's because the language of your zoning orders for this district is completely different from the way the other planned development district is set up. For example, in the larger planned development district, there's a discussion of a master plan. The word master plan does not occur in the language of the small planned development district. Instead, it's preliminary plan and final plan. And the staff's thinking on this after all the discussions and the negotiations and so forth between the staff and the developers team is that the last thing any of us would want was to have this meeting and a motion passed, and then 3 months later, have a big dispute about what happened.
Yeah.
And so the impulse to come to you with the staff recommendation in the form of a lot of detail, which can produce a tedious meeting, and we understand that. But it's really to protect the developer and the city so that once an approval is given, and the conditions are spelled out, and the uncertainties are spelled out, everybody knows what happened. And we can go forward with confidence in taking action. So that's the spirit of the staff in presenting you with a very detailed motion recommendation.
Thank you.
I had a general comment. It was alluded to when you talked about the amount of planning that went in, but modern planning that I've read about focuses on several things, and quality of life is one of the big issues. Loudon was really ahead of its time when the initial city was laid out. A buzzword now is walkability for communities is one of the major quality of life features. Loudon, when it was laid out, was a walkable community ahead of its time because you had work opportunities that were needed. You were in a transition from agricultural to manufacturing areas. But look at what the history of Loudon is. It was a walkable city. Look where your churches were. Look where your people worked. Look where they had to live. The need then was you had to have work right next door. It was before the automobile was here.
Yeah.
All right. If you didn't have those employment, you wouldn't have downtown Loudon. It's not the problem anymore because of the mobility of people, but the thing I like about this plan and the general thinking of this from the initial ideas of even acquiring this property and clearing it off for future development, all centered on filling a need. And the need now is availability of places to live for people that work in the area where they don't have large travel times. And look what you've gone back to. You've gone back to the old history of making it a walkable town, walkable community. So sometimes nothing's new under the sun. Just observation.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second.
I'll say.
All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.